a great example in the Bible that we can all be refreshed by what it actually means to live right in the thick of culture without allowing oneself to be taken captive by the culture is Daniel. See, Daniel had some food limitations that were presumably related to his Jewish faith. And he held to those convictions as a captive in the midst of Babylon. Now, by itself, this antidote could lead to a sort of, well, we hate everything in the name of Babylon on it kind of perspective. That kind of mindset would lead to isolation and separation. Daniel could have done that. Listen up, Christians. The faithful would end up reading only their own authors, listening only to their own musicians, and enjoying only their own artists. Given the freedom and technology, they'd publish magazines, start schools and radio stations, hold concerts, and make every effort to avoid the prevailing evil culture. However, this isn't what Daniel did. Because we're also told that Daniel and his friends, Rakshak and Benny, right, were given knowledge and intelligence in every branch of literature and wisdom, and that Daniel spoke answers to questions posed by people of power with 10 times the wisdom as comparable to his Babylon partners. Daniel was, in other words, culturally relevant. In today's world, he'd probably read most of the widely read newspapers. He'd have some familiarity with contemporary thinking in a lot of different disciplines. I bet you he'd know who Lady Gaga is and why she matters in our culture. He'd understand some things about the global financial crisis and the Arab Spring. Now, separation from culture has its problem, but so does identification with culture, and it can be taken to unhealthy extremes. When our desire to be relevant outstrips our desire to be faithful, our attachments will soon become idolatry.
God wants to meet us right where we're at. He takes each and every one of us that are coming with our hearts right where we're at, no matter what structure. And he says, because the structure's been built this way, I want to be with you so badly that I'll meet you in your structure, even if it's not right. Even if your structure's not right, in other words, it's representative of something that I'm not, I will still meet you in it, because when you tap into my abiding love, I can change you in an instant. But we don't understand God's love like that. We are a critical people. We expect everyone to live within our framework and our structure. And listen, this is the word for everybody, including Pastor Candace, all right? That when I see certain things, I have to remember God is meeting that person right where they're at, within the structure that they have access to Him through. And that I have to honor that, whether or not I agree with it or I don't agree with it. That's all they know at the time. But God loved them so much that He came to this world to die for them right where they're at.
You know, for some of us today, we need to feel God's touch and God's voice in the midst of the desert sun, what these early church fathers and the vintage people of the past experienced when they felt like they were in this transition and up, we don't know up from down. God's touch and God's voice are so real during those times. I wouldn't trade it for the world. My son wouldn't trade it for the world. And people that I've coached who get it wouldn't trade it once they embrace it like you're doing this morning. The good news is this. You're only a prayer away this morning from a new perspective on a past transition, from a new peace on a present transition, from a new power on an imminent transition. Because the Prince of Peace, the peace giver, the peacemaker, is here in our midst. And He doesn't give a stone when you ask for bread. He gives Himself fully to you.